Next, I'm going to talk about three mindsets. So we have victims, we have victors, and that's the mindset we really want. And then we have those other people, and it depends on my crowd. I sometimes call them problem people. I sometimes may call them something like idiots or something along those lines. Those people that cause their own trouble. And we don't want to be them either. We really want to have that victor-based mindset. Now, I've studied a lot of incidents in my life. I couldn't even tell you how many at this point. And it doesn't really matter what the incident is, whether it's a fire, a hurricane, an active threat attack, a bank robbery, street crime. And victims typically relay three things. They say that they didn't believe it was happening, they didn't see it coming, and they didn't know what to do. Those are the big ones that you start out with. So if they didn't believe it was happening to them, where was the problem there? It was part of their belief system, right? That mindset that I talked about. They'd never established those three mindset shifts. And so they didn't believe it was happening to them. And when something happens to you that you can't believe is happening, what happens to your brain and all of your processes? They kind of freeze. It takes a moment. I call it disbelief delay. You're stuck in a situation that your brain does not want to believe. And therefore, there's a big hesitation to take action. And sometimes panic or freezing will be caused by that. Now, disbelief delay can take place no matter how well trained you are, but it's absolutely minimized the more you're mentally prepared for something. They didn't see it coming. So what does that mean? Which part of the SMART system are they lacking there? It's awareness, right? Awareness almost every time there. All of a sudden, the threat pops up out of nowhere. And they didn't know what to do because they never thought they'd be attacked. They weren't aware of the attack coming. They didn't have any options, nor had they ever thought about it. They hadn't even mentally rehearsed these options. Also, they'll be internally focused on fear. So your focus or your attention is on a spectrum from internal to external and basically broad to narrow. So if you're focused on yourself, oh my God, this is happening to me right now. That internal dialogue is taking up your brain space. And that brain space is valuable in a crisis. That means that brain space is now no longer available to solve the problem. So that internal focus on fear, although it's very natural, you have to get out of that internal focus and push it externally. And then they get stuck in compliance or panic because they've never been told what to do. They have no idea what to do. They tend to just comply, sometimes to their own demise. And I'll show you some unfortunate videos of that, or they'll panic, right, and cause some problems there. What used to be the old police advice if somebody was committing a crime against you or around you? I remember what it was because I always kind of laughed because, look, I've scraped the victims up, right? Yeah, just comply. And that was it. I'm like, well, statistically, 51% of the time or whatever, yeah, they're probably right. Generally, compliance for most general crime will keep you the most safe. But what happens when it's not a normal crime? When things aren't as the police would expect them to be. You know, it's not a rational, typical robbery or some type of theft. Then you've got to be able to make that mental shift, right? And we'll talk about that. So here's an example of a victim and their mindset. And you'll see these 5 points kind of come up here in this video.
The quality couldn't be clearer. Something police hope helps capture the criminal you're about to see.
I didn't think it was actually happening.
I-30 in Lamar last Wednesday, 1:30 in the morning, when a black Kia rolls up to the Wells Fargo ATM in Arlington. A 21-year-old woman named Kristen inserts her card, begins a transaction, then looks around in the front seat as the machine goes to work, never noticing the young man walking up from behind. He circles around the back of the ATM, then surprises her, cell phone in one hand and a pistol in the other.
He didn't say anything up until he got to my window. I didn't see him either. I didn't hear him. He just kind of popped up in front. He was just like, hey, give me the money.
He doesn't only take her cash, he takes her car. But first, forces the young woman out, walks her to the back, and orders her to climb into her own trunk at gunpoint. Still, she tells us that she didn't think he would harm her.
It didn't seem like he would, though. I don't know. He just didn't have that air about him.
The only witness is this camera. But this is the one frame police want you to see. The moment the robber looks directly into the lens of the camera, realizing it has captured it all. Still, he climbs in the car, puts his head down, even covers his hands as he takes off. Arlington police say he's suspected of robbing another man at an ATM that same night. Before parking the Kia and walking away, Kristen got out unharmed, but police are more worried that her kidnapper is going uncaptured.
Okay, so you heard her basically say all those things. Didn't believe it was happening. He just popped up out of nowhere. I couldn't believe it. Was he supposed to like stand back in the parking lot? Excuse me, miss, you get some extra cash out. I'll be right up there in a minute. But did he really pop up out of nowhere? Do you think she had some opportunity to spot him early? 100%, right? If she had taken 1% effort to just take a look around, and actually a 1% effort to do that risk assessment. Should I use that dark, isolated ATM at night with that guy standing by a tree watching me? And do you think he did an evaluation of her as a victim? Now, I'll tell you, this class, sometimes I give you hints on how to be a good bad guy. So as a cop, if I go to do a traffic stop and I'm looking at the car in front of me, obviously I watch the driver's behavior, right? As they stop to see if they're panicked, they start moving around in the car. What am I looking for as far as the lights in the car? If they're stopping for a traffic stop. Well, what am I looking for the lights, the external lights? Brake lights to go off, because I know what the car's in what? Park, right? Okay, car's in park. They're settled in a little bit. It's going to be harder for them to get away from you. I'm going to get some reaction time. So they probably did that. Probably looked around, looked for somebody who's unaware, car in park. Excellent. Execute my game plan right there, rational criminal. And then did her actions make the situation worse or better, do you think? To a point, worse, right? Compliance works until it's like getting the trunk of the car. I'll talk a little bit about that, but you really don't want to be taken to a secondary location. I think this woman was saved because this criminal started as a rational criminal, and he realized that, man, I think that camera got my face really well, and if I escalate this, I could be looking at death penalty or a long time in prison. He decided it wasn't worth it. I think that's what may have saved her in this case here. Also, I get about 10 to 20% of the people laugh when she said what? I didn't think. Is her belief system? Yeah, the guy who's kidnapping you, he certainly doesn't mean you any harm. You know, he's probably going to cook you a nice dinner, right? Bring you flowers. That's why he's kidnapping you, to take you out to steak dinner. So that's the kind of belief system that some people have been allowed to go through their lives with until they get hit in the face with reality sometimes.